salvation be exalted. The Lord is blessed, and blessed be my rock. Let the Lord of my salvation be exalted.
Your Eminence, welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome home. Welcome to the Archdiocese of Castries, which now has the distinction of nurturing the first Cardinal from the Antilles Episcopal Conference. Welcome. The cathedral, the cathedra, or chair from which you preached, taught, and evangelized. It was at the altar of this cathedral that you celebrated the Eucharist to nourish the faithful as a good shepherd and father who loved and cared for your people. Your Eminence, the Church and people of St. Lucia, and indeed the region, are proud of you. You have brought us joy. Today in St. Lucia, the Church rejoices and the nation rejoices. We are joyful to have you among us today as our Cardinal. You are one of us. You belong to us. We want you to stand tall among us today so that we can see you and celebrate what God has done for us in elevating you to the cardinalate. Once more, Your Eminence, congratulations. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
My dear brothers and sisters, I want to thank you with all my heart for this overwhelming welcome that you are giving me today. And I thank your Archbishop in expressing this in such glorious terms. I know he expresses the sentiments of all here present, clergy as well as all parishioners from the various parishes of this archdiocese, and I'm sincerely grateful. I just want to share with you just a few thoughts from today's readings, and I shall choose one thought from each of the three readings so that we can reflect on what the Lord is saying to us, particularly at this time as we celebrate in Thanksgiving what the Lord is doing in the Caribbean today. The first thought was taken from Isaiah chapter 49. I will never forget you, the Lord says through the prophet Isaiah. And we have a beautiful hymn in our hymnal which expresses his thought and gives us a sense of hope when things seem hopeless. I will never forget you, I shall never abandon you, my people, because I formed you in the palm of my hands. I want to begin and to trace back a little to acknowledge the presence of our Governor General, the Prime Minister, ministers of government, the church, various church organizations, parishioners from the north, south, east, and west of St. Lucia, because I know that you have come here with a heart full of love and of thanksgiving. I want also to acknowledge the presence of all the clergy of this archdiocese, but also the various metropolitan archbishops of the Antilles Episcopal Conference, who represent the bishops of their provinces. Archbishop Joseph Harris from Trinidad and Tobago, representing the province of Guyana, the three Guyanas, Guyana and Suriname, Curacao and Aruba. I want Barbados and St. Vincent. I acknowledge the presence of Archbishop Michel Marissette from Miraville, sorry, I'm still of the old school. Michel Miraville, representing the three French dioceses of Martinique and Guadeloupe and Cayenne. We recognize the presence of Archbishop Emeritus of Kingston, Jamaica, Archbishop Edgerton Clark, and the other bishop is my bishop, because I work, he has accepted me. He has accepted me to work as a priest in his diocese. Above all, we'd like to recognize once again the presence of the Apostolic Nuncio, His Excellency Archbishop Nicola Girasoli. His love for this region is already producing great fruits, which has brought joy to the hearts of many and hope to those who were almost hopeless. We recognize also my good friend Monsignor Castile from the Vatican, who has been a lover of the Caribbean for many years, responsible for a lot of the appointments of bishops for the last 14 years in the Caribbean, preparing us for the task of leading the church, seeing to the needs of the dioceses in the Caribbean, and those each one of us personally. I want to recognize also the General Secretary of the Caribbean Conference of Churches, Mr. Jared Bernardo from Trinidad and Tobago. Before being appointed to the Archdiocese of Castries, I worked with the CCC for 6 years as the Associate General Secretary. He has taken a personal interest in that work throughout the region to bring the churches together. So we welcome him warmly to this service of thanksgiving. And finally, I would like to recognize my sisters from Canada and my nieces and nephew in St. Lucia. So the Lord says to us, I shall never forget you. We see now a practical example in this proclamation from Isaiah in what is happening in the Caribbean today. As for the first time in the history of the church in our region, the Holy Father has appointed 2 Caribbean cardinals, one for Haiti and one for the Eastern Caribbean. Ever since the news was broken in January, new hope has sprung up in the hearts of many Caribbean people, and particularly in the church. If we only reflect on the history of Haiti, we see very clearly how this country has suffered, its people have suffered. So much so that some of them tend to believe that we are being even forgotten by God. And despite all the problems that they have, we recall the demolition of their country by a terrible earthquake. And today, they are witnessing in the church a new resurgence of faith as the Holy Father has appointed the president of their conference as the first Haitian Cardinal in the church. Similarly, in our islands, we have formed the Caribbean, the Antilles Episcopal Conference. And though the conference has existed for over 50 years, and we have experienced, our dioceses, particularly in Trinidad and Dominica, have been in existence from 1850 to now. And Christianity has been established here for 500 years. The church now experiences its first cardinal. So there is signs of hope for the future. And so we are justifiably grateful for all those who have worked assiduously in assisting this appointment. People have asked me several times when they meet me, what does it feel to be a cardinal? I've only been a cardinal for a few days. But one thing I know, that I feel as though I am standing on the shoulders of 2 great giants in the church. Archbishop Anthony Panton of Trinidad and Tobago, and Archbishop Samuel Carter of Kingston, Jamaica. They are the pioneers. They have worked hard to establish our church in the Caribbean. And I'm sure from their place of rest in the Lord's faith, in the Lord's house, they must be rejoicing today to witness from afar the first Caribbean Cardinal in the church. On many occasions during my addresses to you, as I was Archbishop here in the past for 27 years, I have mentioned a saying by the first Archbishop of this archdiocese, who was then living in Trinidad in 1850, Archbishop Patrick Smith. When he came to St. Lucia for the first time, his remark, and in his writings he made this remark: there are great things lying ahead for St. Lucia in the future. Great things will be happening here. And already people have begun to figure out what are those great things as we review our past. And they see clearly a few things that have happened here and attribute this to the fulfillment of that prophecy Archbishop Smith made concerning St. Lucia, those great things. Well, one of those great things is that St. Lucia became an independent diocese and later an independent archdiocese from the Archdiocese of Port of Spain. Secondly, the Holy Father visited St. Lucia in 1986. This event today is another of its kind. That St. Lucia being not targeted but emerging in the eyes of the Holy Father as a place to start the first Cardinal in the Caribbean. These make us wonder, and we should think in terms of gratitude and to try to live up as the Gospel tells us, which I shall mention later, to this great promise that Archbishop Smith spoke of, that is awaiting St. Lucia in the future. We are to see those materialize and concretize in our days. The third point which I would like to mention from the readings, which I'd like to draw to your attention for further reflection, the Apostle tells us, set your heart on the kingdom first and on God's righteousness, and all things will be given to you besides. This text is meant not only for those who are selected to follow Christ in the religious life, but it is meant for each and every one of us baptized in Christ, that we must now be living examples of the Christian life, the principles that we must all aspire to achieve. Putting God first in our lives and aspiring to serve Him in our neighbor just as He has taught us, this must be our #1 priority. It does not matter whether we are an engineer, doctor, nurse, policeman, any other professional. By choosing these professions, we are choosing what we believe is called for us, each and every one of us, and we ought to try to serve Him the best of our ability in that profession. So when we speak of a shortage of vocations to religious life, it is from the home and from the family and from the living out of our vocation, secular or religious, that people must realize that we are Christians, followers of Christ, people with a mission. That mission we have received in our baptism, to evangelize as Christ has called us to. Mother Teresa of Calcutta is a perfect example of this, and she says in her writings, God did not create us or expect us to do great things. That's not His purpose. He wants us simply to be faithful in serving Him and our brothers and sisters, to be faithful. He doesn't expect each and every one of us to do great things. The simplest thing must be done out of great love and to the best of our ability. This does not mean that we're not going to have difficulties and obstacles and enemies. It does not mean that. But even though we do get those, we shall have the strength and the grace, the support to fight the good fight. And so from now on, we must look forward to the future as we work to build up our nations. Later on, this will have its spin-off even in tourism. People will later want to see the country where the first Caribbean Cardinal works, where he served. How are they going to know about him? Is by seeing the life that we St. Lucians live, and how we live our lives, and how we serve our God and each other. So you are the ones who will come to see. Not the first Cardinal, because he'll be gone, but they come to see you, your children, and how they respond as a people to the challenges of this world. And this is why I would like to address these few words to the young people particularly. All of us, as I mentioned before, each and every one of us has a mission. Received at our baptism, and we must work out our salvation in this world, because we are not meant for here, we are meant for the hereafter. No matter what we do, I repeat, what employment and vocation or profession that we follow, we must always bear in mind that we have to serve God and neighbor. That is His command to each and every one of us. And the young people now, we depend on you. Why? Because you are so generous. God has made you so generous. Secondly, you belong to the present, and we look forward to you for the future, to carry out the good that you have acquired at home, at school, from church, to let this have its impact on your daily lives, and your profession, and your work, and your service to country. If I were to draw an example from my early days of youth, my youth, we were clear in what we wanted to do for ourselves and for the country and for our church. So that by 17 years I was already determined. I was in the seminary studying for the priesthood at 17. And so at 23 years I was ordained a priest. And there I began my career as a priest at 23. And that is what, 58 years ago. From here I had to retire when I was 75. And I suppose the Lord has spoken to the Holy Father. And apparently, in my summation, there is something more that the Lord wants me to do for him and for my people. I created me a Cardinal to assist the Holy Father in his mission throughout the world. That is the work of a Cardinal, to now be the hands and feet of the Holy Father in this territory and in whatever part of the world that the Holy Father wants him to represent him. So if you ask me what is a Cardinal, I come back to a term that we use colloquially when people chide one another and say, you are a Porto-Leglise. Well, now the Cardinal is what it is, a Porto-Leglise, to help the Holy Father to keep up the church and to direct and to serve the members of the church all over the world. He depends on those pillars to help him carry out his duty. So when the people say, Father Felix or Archbishop Felix is a Porto-Leglise, say, I am Porto as well. Be proud to be one. Let us now continue to pray for one another. Because I do not know what the future will bring. One thing that I have made up my mind to do is to serve the church as the Holy Father has called us to. And in a personal letter to all the 19 new cardinals he created, he reminds us that being a cardinal is not a kind of promotion or big job you now acquire. You are called to open your hearts more widely to the grace of God and to be ready to serve more faithfully your brothers and sisters throughout the world, to respond to that call. To do that, I need your help. One can't do this alone. And the help which I need from you is a listening ear and your daily prayers. So here from the Caribbean, I have to listen more attentively to your cries to your bishops, to be able to relate to the Holy Father more directly, and to relate from the Holy Father to our bishops as much as possible, apart from the work that the Papal Nuncio is doing for him, to make him more present, as it were, in our midst. So thank you for your prayers, which I know I can depend on. And we place all our hopes and all our aspirations in the hands of our Blessed Mother, to whom this archdiocese is consecrated, and this cathedral, this basilica, has been dedicated to her Immaculate Conception. May she be our mother in guiding us safely to her divine Son to carry out his will here in this land of ours and throughout the world.